So there will be 2 live streams for today. If anybody talks to you who wasn't here and they're confused, because the first one was stopped when we restarted the computer. Oh, no, we did that one. So we're going to discuss this in a moment. Apparently music is playing. Looks.
Confirmation bias is the idea that we tend to accept information unquestioningly when it reinforces some predisposition we have or some existing belief or attitude. The flip side of that is disconfirmation bias. People tend to be unduly skeptical of information that contradicts some predisposition they have or point of view. So we tend to be too accepting of information we want to hear and too critical of information we don't want to hear. The problem is when it comes to matters of fact, where there is a right answer, there is evidence that is overwhelming on one side or the other, and yet our predispositions are getting in the way of us accepting that information. Confirmation bias is important because we often are trying to evaluate information, and we would like to evaluate it in a way that's accurate. But we also sometimes care about what the outcome is. We have a preference for who's right. And when that preference affects what we believe, we may come to have inaccurate views. We may tend to have a narrow-minded view or a biased view because our predispositions are influencing our judgments about the world.
I think readers they're living in a world now where they can go find whatever will confirm their bias. If the Washington Post doesn't report Ferguson the way they want it reported, they can go to a place that feeds their ideology, that feeds their view of the world, and those sites exist. That's why they're in business.
We're in a moment where people are choosing their own media, and in politics, national politics, we have a sort of separation. You see more confirmation bias in source selection when it comes to national politics than anywhere else. But actually moments of crisis like Ferguson and Baltimore, and I shudder to say the next incident, are moments when we open up our aperture just a little bit more, and the meaning can change.
Now, the ability to choose your media is also good. I mean, they're implying it's wrong because we're discussing bias, and the way they're discussing it, if you choose your media that always agrees with you, that's bad. But also before that, we didn't have much choice in media. You had a couple television channels maybe, or a few newspapers, and that was it. There was nothing independent either. So it was harder to get a wide range. It's just weird that rather than getting a wide range, we seem to have gotten just 2 sides. And a wide range on either side, but just 2 sides. Things that are independent should have a little bit more than that. What I'd like you to do, so let's go back to here, and I'm going to open that. So very quickly, I'm going to put you into... Oh, I don't have Class Dojo open. One, two, three, four, five, six, 7, 8, 9, 10. Ooh, that would work well with pairs then as opposed to trios. Now, it's doing the whole class, so there's a couple of people not here. And so, if you're paired with someone who's not here, pair up with someone else who's not here. Also, we seem to be missing someone on this list. You're not on the list. And Josie's not on the list. Okay, so, Mimi, go with Michael. I think when I put you in chemistry, it took you off of this one. It's so mean. I'm going to have to go make sure that it puts you in both. So, I'll put you with Michael. Those of you, well, Tedra and Charlie aren't here today, so that works. And who else is someone who's not here today? Nicholas isn't here. Oh, so there we go. Yep. Chloe's also with someone who's not here. Excellent. Find your partner. I'm going to give you a couple more questions in a moment, but we're going to just start off with these two. Come up with your own working definition of confirmation bias, because you've now had it defined by film, by myself in the notes. But how would you define it as a student of Brentwood College and life? What? Excellent. That one works. Sorry, I was just saw your drawings. How are you guys doing? Also drawings. How are you guys doing? Looks like most people are there. One, oh, I was gonna say have the pairs pair up, but that leaves a pair out in the woods. Hmm. You would like to be out of the woods. Out of the woods. What? But that's a bad metaphor. It would be in the woods, because you're still lost. Yeah, yeah. Where you like being lost. Okay. I'm gonna go around just quickly each group. Pick a person. What strategies? Just give me one strategy that you learned in the 248 example, or that you think would help in this. Think simple before you think complicated. That was yours as well. I'm going to go to different groups, and then I can rotate back around. Everybody's the same one. Keep a broad perspective to begin with. So we've got two good ideas. Pardon? There's more than one. There may be more than one possible answer. I said black swans earlier. That's a famous example of that. It used to, to the point it was literally printed in logic textbooks as examples of deductive proof that all swans are white, and they now use this as an example of how events can happen. They call it the black swan event, in which you cannot predict that this will happen, but it'll just show up. It wasn't until people who were making some of these books found black swans in Australia that they're like, oh, our preconceived notions were completely wrong all along, to the point that our logic textbooks no longer make sense. So I would like you to get together with another group. So there's a group of 4. How might confirmation bias influence the way Hold on, I thought you weren't joining another group. What? No, I said if we do 2 and 2 and join, there'll be 2 left out. You said, oh, we volunteer for that. But no, now that you joined together, we could have the other, we could just divide the class in half. Oh, no. Hold it. How do you divide 10? I know. No. You know what? No. You know what? I don't want this bias of having the same partners. Yeah. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mix you up again. Toolkit. Let's go with a different group. We'll make them out of 3. Right. So you definitely join up with Tatum. And Nicholas isn't here either, so we have a group of 2. So find your groups and let's combine them. And yeah, go together, and then I'm going to just move people together once I see who's here and who's not. Mimi, I'll just move you. I believe Chloe's with there. So that's one group of 3. That's a group of 2. Oh, you're all a group of 3? So Mimi here, group of 3. Hold it. Oh, you're a pair. And my brain can't handle that this early in the morning. You're a group of 2. You're a group of 3. Oh, I keep forgetting that. Okay. Actually, and then you could be a group of 4. Yeah, so 3, 3, 4, because 3 plus 3 plus 4 also makes 10. I don't know. What? Did I? Really? Well, I do know that in a Biochem 300 exam, I used my calculator to prove that 2 times 3 is 6 because I didn't believe it, and I was far too panicked to do math in my head. Yeah, make sure. Which, example of bias. This study has been replicated so many times. You give people a calculator that's been programmed to give the wrong answers. And then you have them do a simple math test, and you tell them to calculate it with the calculator, and then they take away the calculator, they say double check it by hand. And then they just watch. The real test is, which answer do they go with? Do they go with the calculator answer or their own answer? That's good, deep-seated suspicion. What would you predict the result of the experiment was? Most people went with a calculator. I like that. When the machines try to take over, you're not going to be having that. Okay, I'll put up the question again. What? We're not... I think I missed something. What's going on? Oh, pretend you heard nothing. Nobody heard anything. Well, there is the saying that a secret is can only be had if it's only known by 2 people, and one of those people is dead. Okay, in your group, last one. Oh, I didn't finish writing it down. My goodness. Apparently I thought 2 plus 2 was what? Yeah, that's... Okay, first one. How might confirmation bias influence the way students respond to news or other types of information? Let's focus on the question. Okay, let's not focus on the open house. it's, you will find out in the assembly. Yeah. Yeah. Surprise pizza, probably. Yeah. Or maybe they're planning the worst kind of pizza, broccoli pizza.
I knew you were going to say broccoli pizza. I was thinking broccoli pizza.
Because nobody likes that, despite that apparently some people in this room have had it. Okay, let's start here with Jonathan, since he's focusing on pizza. How might confirmation bias influence the way students respond to news and information? And have you heard the term Brentwood bubble? Yeah, that seems like a nice encapsulation of how the Brentwood bubble works. Next group. Okay. Did you come up with any different examples? Advertisement works regardless of whether or not you believe it works. And they spend a lot of money on advertising for very good reasons. Even if you think, I'm not affected by ads. You are very much affected by ads, right down to where they put things in the grocery store to encourage you to buy it. One trick that has been used in some stores, larger box stores, is when you are rolling your cart down, they'll have grooves in the floor where the tiling is. And the tiles will gradually become smaller as you enter the more expensive area. Why would they do that? No, they're just tiles. So as you're rolling your cart over tiles, what does it sound like? Yeah, So you're walking down the aisle, and it sounds, because you're going past items, it just sounds normal. It's like dump 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 as you click on the tiles, and then all of a sudden the sound goes dump 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 dump. What's your instinctive response? Stop, slow down, because all of a sudden the sound changed, and you slow down right where the expensive items are, and that little bit increases the chance you'll grab that. Yeah, all these little sneaky things. Yeah. 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 And then they store good stores, and for very good reasons. They want, profit margins in stores can be quite low. Like they're only making once you factor in like their overhead, the cost of heating the building, hiring all the staff. Their overhead can be really small especially for like a grocery store. And so getting people to buy things slightly different helps them survive. And so obviously they're going to try and do that. So I'm not saying they're evil for doing that, but certainly that will work on you really whether you know it or not. Yeah. Yes, yeah. Now that you say that, I'm like, yes, yeah. And the targeting you mentioned, Mimi, the famous example, if you type this in online, you'll find it. When there was a particular store that was experimenting with targeting ads, and they sent ads to this one home, and everything that in it was for pregnancy. And the father went to the store and was really upset because there's nobody who's pregnant in my home. Why are you doing that? And then he apologized a couple months later because it turns out his daughter was pregnant and he wasn't aware. They've shown that those things will actually identify people who are pregnant before they know they're pregnant. They're tracking your purchases, and it's just like, oh, this person bought a little thing of extra ibuprofen, and they're getting cotton balls, and they're doing this, and certain purchases there's a 73% chance they're pregnant, put in more pregnancy ads. They've stopped doing that in that way because people freak out when their ads change. So now you'll get pregnancy ads in your paper if you get one delivered, but next to it will be a lawnmower, something they know you're not interested in, so that you think it's random, but it's not random. Nobody else on your street got all those pregnancy ads. They all got the lawnmower, but you think it was randomized. Well, and sometimes they're not targeting. Like sometimes the ads are untargeted. The local flyer from Thrifty's, I'm pretty sure, is untargeted because first of all, Canada Post here refuses to deliver the paper targeted ads like they do in some states and they used to do. So you actually have to go online, but your online ads very much might be. And for you, it may be that ad is not the targeted ad. They will do everything. Next question for your group. So this was more because we've kind of touched on this. How does this affect your ability to judge accuracy, confirmation bias, which we've really touched on in here? But then, what strategies do you think you can employ to counter this? And I want to give you an example that isn't now ads, because big evil corporations, but this is everywhere. You are, just for the sake of this example, in a relationship. That relationship with the other person is completely toxic. They are a bad person. All your friends can see it. You're the one in the relationship and you're deeply in nub. I nub this person. They are the best person in the world. You do nub. It's like love, but like more sickeningly. Like, ew. They're so in nub. They walk around, public displays of affection everywhere they go. It's just like, ew. But you're this person. If you're not the kind of person that would ever do, fine, but just for the sake of this example, how would you, in the situation, get yourself out? How? Because much the same thing. You hear bad news about someone you really like, you ignore that bad news. You see one small good thing that they do, that makes them the best person in the world. People in love are so heavily into confirmation bias. How do you get out of that once you're in it? Discuss as a group. What? Try to discuss it without current relationships? Did someone just lose their phone? Fair enough. I'm only going to give you another minute. You have 1 minute to figure out how you'd get out of a toxic relationship. Okay, I'm going to ask you to stop. Hopefully you have at least one method. But now I want you to come up with some, I'm not going to write it up here. I want you to come up with some ideas on if you've been in that experience, what methods did people try that you know absolutely do not work? What doesn't work? I don't know, talk with each other. Okay, I'm going to get you to stop. I'm going to consult with each group. I think, did I start there last time? I'm going to start in the middle. There we go. One strategy that works. This is really interesting and really intense. How would you ask, like, would you sit them all down in a classroom, or was there a mechanism by which you thought you'd do this? Oh, like a group chat or something. If it's on TikTok, it has to be right. That's confirmation bias in a nutshell. Yeah. So talking to lots of people and asking your friends the same questions to see if they're their experience. Yeah. It's funny you say that. I do know a university professor who deliberately cultivated friendships with. He said this in class with people he hated. And interesting, he was a philosophy professor, and now that he never said why he did that, but I wonder if that was like opinions from very different people. Interesting. Right. Yeah. Excellent. One person. Or cultivate people who deeply hate the thing you're checking. I like that. Mm-hmm. So go into things knowing that things could be wrong. Before you start things, prepare. Is risk management in nuclear power is all about, because you can't prepare for a nuclear meltdown afterwards. All your preparation has to happen before, and that reminds me of that. A good nuclear power plant, Fukushima, 3 Mile Island, there has never been a medical death attributed to either of them. Because they when they melted down, they destroyed themselves so in a way that made them so safe. All of that was done before it was even built. Yeah, it's actually amazing if a similar type of other industry had where the worst case scenario is that nothing bad happened to the point that someone died. That's pretty good. No one died from the radiation. Like the radiation, I mean, people still died from. Like there was a tsunami, and but nobody died from medically from the radiation. They no. Lots of bad things, and economically, there's other things. Now, since I started with this group and went there, I'll start at this group and then go there and there for what is one method that doesn't work. So if you're harping on it all the time, it doesn't work. So you can't pull yourself out of the well. You need help. Yeah. That makes sense. Over and over and over again. If they don't want to hear it, you can't really do much about it. And if you hear it all the time from one person, you're probably going to ignore that. Yeah. As any of you, does Mr. Snow doesn't teach at your level. You may have heard about Mr. Snow. He's my guy. If I have a great idea, I take it to Mr. Snow. Because he'll tell me all the ways it will fail. It will not work for these 17 different really good points, actually. So if I know if I can get it down to only 2 or 3 reasons with Mr. Snow why it won't work, it might actually work. He's fantastic for that. And I'm really glad I have him as someone who can do that. Now that someone said, find someone who hates it. Mr. Snow dislikes a lot of things. It's useful to have him around for that reason. Are all the guys? You're not in Rogers? Rogers? Nick's not in Rogers. No. Do we have enough? Digital culture critic abandons fake on the internet column. I think we'll do that next day because it's 3 minutes long. And what time is it now? It's 9:34. So we've got 30 seconds. So before you, you've already packed up. I'm not going to have you do that because I'm going to have you do it next day. We'll finish this off next day. We're going to listen to something else and have a. We'll finish this off next day. We're going to listen to something else and have a. We'll finish this off next day. We're going to listen to something else and have a. We'll finish this off next day. We're going to listen to something else and have a. We'll finish this off next day. We're going to listen to something else and have a. We'll finish this off next day. We're going to listen to something else and have a. We'll finish this off next day. We're going to listen to something else and have a. We'll finish this off next day. We're going to listen to something else and have a. We'll finish this off next day. We're going to listen to something else and have a. We'll finish this off next day. We're going to listen to something else and have a. We'll finish this off next day. We're going to listen to something else and have a. We'll finish this off next day. We're going to listen to something else and have a. We'll finish this off next day. We're going to listen to look at another bias video and have a reflection. And I'm going to call your attention back. Remember that implicit bias test that I gave you a link to a little before? It had a huge list of all these implicit. If you haven't done that yet, I'd highly recommend you do that, or go in and do another one in biases now that we're doing it in more detail. You might find your experiences changes a bit. Yeah, that one. Yeah. Michael, can I see you before you go? One second.